Hi guys, welcome back. I wanted to just share with you guys my birth story and also my postpartum issues that I had when I delivered my twins this January. I hope you guys enjoy the story and learn a little bit from it. Thanks. One of the reasons I hadn't come back yet is because I really wasn't sure if I was going to share everything. Hold on. Where's my knife at? I was actually about to eat a salad, but then my husband came in and he was like, "Are you gonna make some breakfast?" So I'm gonna just do both. So I had the twins on January 7th, 2019. This is my story. I woke up that morning and I had a doctor's appointment. My doctor had already previously told me that she wasn't gonna let me go past 38 weeks. Because one of they weren't growing to their potential, which tends to happen with twins because there are two babies in there and there's only so much space, and you're splitting up nutrients that one baby would get. So I woke up that morning and I don't know, I just had a funny feeling. Like I felt like something was happening, like something was gonna go down. But I had a doctor's appointment anyway, and I went by myself. I was going to ask my husband to go. But I'm like, this isn't our first go-around. I'm like, I'll just go by myself. It's fine. So as I was getting dressed, I don't know, I just kind of felt like something was up. My back was bothering me a little bit. So I texted him, like, I think I'm going to just take an Uber to the hospital. I think the babies may be coming today. So I'm feeling the same way. I get to the hospital and I'm checking in. And I'm telling the receptionist, like, I think I'm having contractions. Like, I had a doctor's appointment and a stress test scheduled that day. I'm like, should I just go to labor and delivery? What do you want me to do? So she went back there and talked to my doctor, and my doctor was like, yeah, we're just supposed to be over to labor and delivery. You're 37 weeks. We said we weren't gonna let you go past 38 anyway. This isn't your first baby. So we'll just send you over. So I'm like, okay. So I waited on someone to transport me because my back was bothering me still at this point. So they transferred me over to labor and delivery. And sure enough, I was having contractions. And they checked me and I was 4 centimeters dilated at that point. I had already previously been dilated like a month prior to that. So that wasn't too surprising either. And so I'm sitting there, whatever, and maybe an hour or two goes by, and they're like, well, we're going to break your water bag. I'm like, okay. Now, side note, my water has never broke on its own. I have now 4 kids, 2 singletons, 1 set of twins. When I had my oldest daughter, who's 12 now, her water broke when I was at the hospital, when they were checking to see how far I was dilated, and her water broke. When I had my 3-year-old, I want to say they broke my water. That's what my husband tells me. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. But I want to say they broke my water. And both of them, both my 12-year-old and my 3-year-old, I had gross meconium with both of them. So they broke my water, and then my husband comes or whatever like that. Now, mind you, he's juggling because we have a 12-year-old and a 3-year-old, so he's trying to get, child care to keep, my appointment was in the morning, but, kids are starting to get out of school and stuff like that, so he's running back and forth trying to make sure everybody's settled and things of that nature, and I'm in the hospital. So at one point, baby A, who's now Ava, her heart rate started dropping. And so they had to reposition me and do all this stuff. My aunt ends up showing up around, I want to say maybe 7 o'clock in the evening or so. And they checked me at 9 and they said, okay, you're 6 centimeters, it'll probably be another 4 hours or so, like that. And so we're like, okay. So me and him are hoping we have him on the 8th because all of our kids have 8s. Like my stepdaughter, her birthday is 8/8. My 12-year-old, her birthday is 8/8. Coincidence, I know. My 3-year-old, her birthday is 8/28. So So we're like, oh, we're going to have these babies on 1-8 so we can keep this whole 8 trend going. I have a cold too, by the way, if you can't tell. So that's why I look a little weird. So, they checked me at 9. They said, oh, you're 16. It's probably be another 3 or 4 hours. So I'm like, okay. So then around 9:45, I tell my husband, I'm like, you got to go get them. Because these babies are coming. Like, I know, like, they're coming, you know. I mean, once you have a kid, you kind of know what's happening with your body. I'm like, I think they're coming, you gotta go get them. So we push the button or whatever, and then they look between my legs, they're like, oh my God, I don't know, we're gonna make it to the operating room. Now, baby A was positioned regular, head down, feet up. Baby B was breached. So my doctor, we already had this discussion that as long as baby A was head down, I could push out and they could try to pull out baby B, but if not, you know, with twins, you normally deliver in the operating room in case they have to go in and get them, because anything can happen. So when they looked down, they were like, "Oh my God, we gotta hurry up! We gotta get her to the room. We gotta get her to the room." So they rushed me in the operating room, and this was maybe 10 o'clock, I want to say. And I literally pushed 3 times. Baby Ava, came right out at 10:06. Then they reached in and grabbed Amaris, baby B, by her feet, pulled her out, 10:10. 10:06, 10:10, smooth sailing. Ava was 6 pounds, Amaris was 4 pounds. Ava starved her sister out, child. She was starved out. I've never even had a baby that small before. My oldest, she was 7 pounds, 2 ounces. My 3-year-old was 7 pounds, 11 ounces. So to have a 4-pound baby, it was like, oh my, I mean, like, she was like in my hands, you know? So they came out fine, healthy, no gross meconium or anything like that. You know, beautiful babies. The hospital stay was fine or whatever like that. I ended up actually getting a tubal right after. We decided we were trying it for a boy, and we ended up getting twin girls. And so after that, we kind of was like, okay, that's it. Like 4 kids, 5, including my stepdaughter. Excuse me. That's a lot. So we decided to go ahead and do that. Well, I decided to go ahead and do that. So they gave me the tubal or whatever, and then we were settled down in our room. You know, regular hospital stay. Nothing too crazy or whatever like that. So they released me on a Wednesday, and we went home. You know, everything was okay. I did have what they were telling me was gas pain when I was in the hospital. They were like, oh, it's probably gas, you need to move around. So I started trying to walk around Wednesday because I was feeling this pain. Pain like in my back and my side. You know, they were like, oh, it's probably gas, it's probably gas. So, turn this down. So I'm trying to get rid of this gas or whatever like that. When I get home, I'm still having like the pain. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm the type of person. I'm like, I try to deal with stuff. I'm like, well, you know, they're telling me it's gas. It's probably just gas. You know, I need to just move around. I need to move around. My husband was rubbing my back. I was belching and all types of stuff. I had the worst, like, I would belch all throughout my pregnancy. So he's rubbing my back, I'm belching. And so around 1 a.m., I finally tell him, like, I can't, like, I have to go to the hospital. Like, the pain was so bad, I literally could not move. Like, I was just in the bed, just stuck. And I'm like, I can't even take care of these babies at this point, you know. And mind you, I'm nursing. I'm trying to, like, sit up and, like, it was just not happening. So he had to just run me to the emergency room and leave because we have newborn babies at home. Like, what are you to do? So he runs me to the emergency room. I sat in that emergency room from 2 a.m. till 7 o'clock. Mind you, in the emergency room, not in the back, in the waiting room. Mind you, I told them I just delivered babies like 2 days ago. I had all of my information. Now looking back on it, and my OBGYN was like, you should have just came. I didn't go to the hospital I delivered at. I went to a closer hospital because I felt like, okay, they're going to get me right in. You know, I just had these babies. It's closer, whatever. Plus, you know, my husband had to watch the baby. We couldn't be away from the house like that because, you know, he had to watch the babies. I'm like, they'll get me in. It'll be fine. You know, it won't be a long situation. That was not the case. I was in the emergency room. They would not give me. And I hope somebody, I'm not going to put the hospital on blast, but I hope somebody asks me what hospital. Mind you, I live in Chicago, so ask me what hospital, please. They did not give me any water. I was literally sitting in a wheelchair. I had bled through my sanitary pad because I was sitting so long. They didn't give me any water, nothing to eat, nothing. So finally, I go to the back. And I see a doctor. I'm like, I think I have a kidney stone. I've had kidney stones before. Initially, I didn't think that because they kept telling me it was gas or whatever. And plus, I was pregnant, so it's just a lot of stuff going on with your body. I'm like, this has to be a kidney stone. Like, it just has to be. Like, it just hurts too bad. So, I sit in the hospital bed in the emergency room for another hour before they finally give me something pain-wise. And then they take me to the back, and she's like, oh, it was a kidney stone. But we just did another scan or whatever, and it looks like you passed it. So I left the hospital at like 8 a.m. That was my first night out of the hospital from having twins. I was in the hospital. My first day out of the hospital. So I went back home, and long story short, I must have had another one because the pain came back. But at this point, it was like, I'm not going back. Like, I already know what's going on. I'm just going to toughen it out. I started flushing myself with, you know, the cranberry juice, you know, the usual cranberry juice, water, you know, I'm flushing it out. And then because of the test they did on me in there, I couldn't breastfeed for 24 hours because of the dye. I forgot what they did. It was dye. So I couldn't even breastfeed. So I had to pump and dump for 24 hours. My newborn babies, I had to give them formula. It was a mess. So now, here comes the real story. So I'm home with the babies. I came back Thursday morning. I finished frying the bacon. I'm going to make my salad dressing now. I came home Friday morning. Well, Thursday morning. I got released from the hospital Wednesday. Went to the hospital back Wednesday night. Came home Thursday morning. And my head started hurting. And so I remember in the hospital they kept asking me if my head hurt when I was having, like right after I had the babies, because I had an epidural. I forgot to tell you all that. I had an epidural. And this time around, like when I had Zanaya, I had Zanaya, my oldest, at 12. Hold on. Okay. What? I had my oldest, who's 12. I had an epidural with her. When I had my 3-year-old, I was trying to have a natural birth, and it was ridiculous. By the time I wanted the epidural, the hospital apparently only had one anesthesiologist available or something, and so I had to wait like almost 2 hours for him to come. I was in there crying and like snotting and like sweat. I mean, it was insane. So this time around, my husband was like, we're not playing these games. You're going to go ahead and get this epidural like now, like immediately. There's no time to wait or whatever like that. So when my head started hurting, I remember they kept asking me, the anesthesiologist people, like, do you have a headache? Do you have a headache? Because sometimes you can get headaches, like they call them epidural drips or something to that effect from having the epidural. So my head started bothering me. So I'm like, oh God, I hope it's not this epidural situation or whatever like that. So Wednesday, and my neck started bothering me on Friday. So, and which was odd because I was like, why is my neck bothering me? Like I didn't sleep funny. Like this is the same bed I've always slept on or whatever like that. But my neck was really bothering me. Like I had a crick in my neck. So Sunday and Saturday my head started hurting, and so my cousin had came over to see me and the babies Sunday, and when they were sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, my head is like pounding. I got little fibers in this greater thing from the ginger. It was pounding, and like my vision was starting to like be weird, like blurry or something, like weird. So they left. I'm like, I'm about to go get in the bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to just relax or whatever. I did just have twins. I need to sit down. I'm trying to do too much. So I went and got in the bed and, Googling, what to do with this epidural situation. And they're like, oh, drink some coffee. Drinking coffee can help or whatever like that. So my husband went and got me an iced coffee. And I'm drinking it. My head is still bothering me. And so this is like maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So, by the evening time, I noticed that I kept having to go to the bathroom. Not like urinary tract infection bathroom, but like I had drank gallons of water bathroom. Like I was going like every 10 minutes, like to the bathroom. I'm like, what is going on with me? Like, why am I having to pee? Like I haven't even drank as much as I'm peeing at this point. Like what the hell is happening? So, this is so sad. But I figured I want to tell people because you never know, like this could happen to somebody and you should know what to do or whatever. So that evening came and we had the babies in their bed or whatever like that, And so one of them started to cry. I don't know who to this day. So one of them started to cry. So I get up, my head's still bothering me. And so also we had decided, he was like, well, if your head's still hurting in the morning, I'm gonna take you to the hospital. Because, I'm like, I need to just, sometimes I work myself up or whatever like that. I'm like, let me just calm down. He's like, well, your head's still hurting. We're going to go to the hospital tomorrow. I'm like, okay. So we went to bed or whatever like that. One of the babies started crying. So I get up to go get her. And I'm laying in the bed next to my husband. And all of a sudden, I could feel my left arm start numbing. And I could see my hand like curl up like this, and it was not under my control. And so I screamed out his name because I had the baby in one arm. Like I screamed out his name, and honest to God, at that moment, I thought I was dying. Because I don't know if you all know, when you're about to die, your body releases your bowels and in your bladder, like that goes. So I was just thinking like, oh my God, I've been peeing all day. Like I've been peeing. And now, you know what I'm saying, I'm about to die. My dad has had 2 strokes, so I know, you know what I'm saying, when things are happening, I kind of have an idea of what, like, I know that's not normal. And no one's hand goes numb and you go like this. And everything started going dark. Because my husband, I'm stop talking because he's obsessive. Yes? I know. Okay, so we're continuing the story. I just had breakfast. So after my hand seized up, everything went dark. And when I came to, my husband was telling me, it's okay. You just had a seizure. So thank God he was able to get the baby out of my arms before I started seizing up. There were paramedics in my house, and they took me to the hospital. So they were like, they determined I had eclampsia at that time. Like I never hit pre. My blood pressure was always low. Like I've never had a high blood pressure incident at all. Like my blood pressure is usually 117, 120 over 65. I mean, like never above 130. And so I was admitted to the hospital. I was taken to one hospital and they transferred me over to the hospital that I delivered to. And I was put on a 24-hour magnesium drip. And then I had to be under 12 hours of monitoring after that because the magnesium weakens your system so much. So I had to have a catheter for like 24 hours. And then they had to monitor me to make sure that I was okay and I wasn't going to fall out or anything like that. And so I couldn't even be around my babies. You know, my babies had to be at home. My husband was on 24-hour mommy daddy duty. They said that the babies could have came with me to the hospital, but that would have meant that someone would have had to been in the hospital room with me because the magnesium makes you so weak. And so because we have other children, it was no way that anyone could be in the hospital with me 24 hours. My mom passed away in June, so I was like, I don't have my mom, so it's just me and him. So they released me. That was Sunday night. I was released Tuesday to come home. Tuesday? Yeah, I was released Tuesday to come home. And when I got home, my head started hurting again. And so my husband was like, well, we're just going to the hospital. I'm like, no, let's just wait a little while. Let's just wait a little while. He's like, well, they didn't give you any blood pressure medication? I'm like, no, they gave me magnesium. They said my blood pressure was fine when I left. So the next morning, my head was still hurting. So he went to Walgreens and got me a blood pressure monitor for my wrist. The first time I took it, it was 175 over 100. And so I'm like, okay, wait, let me just take it again. Like, let me make sure I'm taking this correct. And I took it again, and it was 203 over like 130. And so I went immediately to the hospital again. Same hospital that just released me from the magnesium drip that I delivered my babies. I'm like, look, I just, went through the whole spiel. I just delivered twins last week. I was just released from the hospital yesterday for eclampsia. My head is hurting. I'm taking my blood pressure, at home, and it's reading this. And they're like, well, we're going to read it again. Sometimes the wrist cuffs read wrong. So they did my blood pressure, and then they sent me to the back. They admitted me immediately. And so they gave me some blood pressure medication, and then they sent me for some MRA scans, and they determined that I had a subarachnoid hemorrhage, right? Some heavy shit. And I was admitted to the neuro ICU unit. I stayed there from, that Wednesday until, I want to say Friday. Friday, they put me in the regular neurology unit, and then they let me go home Saturday. And I went home on blood pressure medication, anti-seizure medication. I'm not allowed to drive. I'm not allowed to swim by myself until July, to make sure that, because obviously if it happens again, and I'm in water, then I will drown. So no one wants that to happen. And it's really life-changing. Like, I've never really had any illnesses or sicknesses or anything like that. My entire pregnancy, I was fine. Like, I never had any high blood pressure. I mean, my feet swole a little bit toward the end, but I was like 50 pounds heavier than I usually am on a day-to-day basis. I've never had any types of issues, and this has really been something that's really freaking me out a lot. To where if my head hurts, some days I'm still healing. My brain is still healing, so some days I'll still get dizzy a little bit. Some days my head hurts. I feel slight facial tingling. That hasn't happened in a few weeks, which is nice. But whenever that stuff does happen, it kind of just brings everything back. Like, for a long time, I couldn't even lay on the same side that it happened when my hand went numb, because I keep envisioning it happening again. And I joined a lot of groups regarding this type of thing. They ended up diagnosing me with RCVS, restrictive something vascular syndrome, reversible constrictive vascular syndrome, which meant that the veins and the vessels in the back of my neck tightened up, which caused the hemorrhage. Which is why my neck was bothering me. Come to find out, that's a symptom of it. Who knew? Like, it didn't even feel like something internal bother. It just felt like I slept funny. That's all. It just felt like I slept funny. And I kept telling him, I'm like, God, I don't know why. Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't sleep weird. Like, it's the same pillows I've always slept on. I didn't understand what was happening. At first, I thought my neck was bothering me from that whole 5-hour emergency room waiting situation. And maybe when I was sleeping in the wheelchair, like I pulled something or something like that, but it was all a symptom. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't been on here to update you on anything. It was just a lot going on, all at the same time, and it was something I really never expected to happen. And for a while, I didn't even know if I wanted to talk about it. because it just upsets me. Like when I think about it, it's just so upsetting because like if my husband wasn't here, who knew what, I wouldn't have known what happened to me. Like I could have just still been here. Or what if I was walking with one of my 3-day-old babies when it happened and I just fell out and hurt the baby? Or what if, I was even in the bed and he wasn't laying next to me and I rolled over and then, hurt my baby when I was having my seat. Like I just think about all that stuff and it just freaks me out. But I wanted to tell my story because, this may happen to somebody and at least if you know the symptoms, if you you see this is happening, like if somebody's complaining about headaches or like, my eyes are feeling a little weird or I'm having this neck pain for no reason at all, and you can be like, hey, you need to go to the emergency room immediately. And I'm just so thankful for my husband. Like I tell him, like, you saved my life. Like you legit saved my life, because if you weren't here, who knows? I would have woke up, probably thought I was dreaming or something. Like, I don't know. Well, I don't know what I would have done if I was by myself and that happened to me. So, but long story short, I have 2 beautiful, healthy babies, and I tell people, I'm like, well, all that stuff happened to me post partum, but at least my babies are good. Like it all happened to me on the back end, and I'll take the hit for them. They're healthy, bubbly, laughing, smiling, beautiful, growing. I'm breastfeeding still. They're getting fat and chunky. Like they're perfectly fine. I'm still taking my blood pressure medication, my seizure medication. Well, now I'm taking antibiotics too because I'm trying to get over this sinus infection. And I was actually just in my sister-in-law's wedding, so we just came back in town yesterday from Vegas. So I went ahead and took the girls to the daycare so I can, excuse me, get myself back together again for work tomorrow. So, but that's my story. I'm going to try to update this a little bit more than I have been, because right now I'm trying to lose like 7 pounds. I dropped most of my baby weight. In fact, when I left the hospital, the neuro unit, I was like smaller than I was before I had them. But then I put the weight on. My husband was like, you look sickly anyway. I'm like, but I was feeling good. I was feeling good at my sickly weight. So I want to lose about 7 or 8 pounds, and then I'll probably be fine. So I'll probably update you all with a little bit of that. And I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed the story. Leave comments, like, subscribe, tell a friend. You just never know how this may affect you, or or if you foresee something like this happening to somebody, do them a favor and tell them to go to the hospital immediately. You cannot put this type of shit off. Excuse my French. You just can't. You just can't. So that's it, loves. Hope you enjoy your days. See you on the next one.